Last week, we once again commemorated the lives of all the innocent victims lost on 9/11. The brave first responders and dedicated recovery workers, the 9/11 anniversary reminds us each year of the shock, sadness, and anger we all felt that morning. Our unity and strength following the attacks were palpable and encouraging also. Nothing the terrorists inflicted could defeat our nation as a worldwide beacon of freedom and liberty. As part of our resolve, it is critical that tools to defeat terrorism remain available to the men and women of our national security and intelligence community who work tirelessly to protect our country and to secure the freedoms that we cherish. Several of these tools are set to expire on December the 15th. It is our duty to reauthorize these authorities. Otherwise, the authorities revert back to our national security posture before 9/11. I don't think anyone wants that. I'm actually kind of glad we're actually having this hearing. It expires on December 15th. We could have been working on this a long time. I guess we've been busy with other things. We're at least having this hearing today. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act was originally passed to protect Americans from surveillance abuses. Our national security apparatus surveillance regime offers access to critical foreign intelligence that we need, but we must ensure that there is a balance in both protecting our security and our civil liberties. FISA was created to do that. In 2016, during and after the presidential election, this balance appears to have broken down. While Democrats accuse Republicans of simply trying to divert attention for political purposes, it is now clear that those at the pinnacle of our national security community lost the objectivity that they were required by law to exercise. And that is coming out now as we see a FISA report coming out soon. A necessary component for Americans' trust in the intelligence community is a perception of fairness, particularly when implementing surveillance against Americans. Like many Americans, I await the Inspector General Horwitz's report on potential FISA abuse from the presidential election period. However, it is a fact that multiple individuals at the top of the FBI have either been fired, terminated, or even referred for and reported to be under a criminal investigation, although that has seemed to escape the notice of the majority on this committee. Oversight and deterrence is clearly needed when the top-level officials in our intelligence and law enforcement community are officially criticized and potentially even indicted for divulging sensitive information and lying. That said, today we face the reauthorization of authorities passed in 2015 as part of the USA Freedom Act focused on battling terrorism. 3 provisions, sections 215, business records, lone wolf, and roving wiretaps, must be reauthorized. It's admittedly difficult to separate our concerns on FISA abuse from reauthorization facing us, but we need to protect valuable tools in combating violent extremists and their evil goals. 2 of the authorities are fairly straightforward: the lone wolf and roving wiretap positions. The lone wolf provision essentially permits surveillance of terrorists seeking to harm us even if there is no proof the terrorists being directly connected to ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Why we know this has been a trajectory of terrorist attack where the perpetrators are not, quote, members of these particular terrorist organizations, but are inspired by their medieval ideologies. The roving wiretap provision allows the intelligence community to follow terrorists and spies who attempt to thwart or evade surveillance by dumping and switching phones. If we can do this for drug dealers, we should be able to do it for suspected terrorists. Regarding Section 215, I look forward to hearing more from the FBI on their use of this authority. The ability to obtain business records, particularly in terrorist and foreign intelligence investigations, but also suspected spies, is not something whose authority we can afford to let expire. However, Section 215's use for collecting call data records, however, has been significant and seemingly insurmountable technical problems in its implementation. We'd like to hear from the NSA on their thoughts on the continuing validity of 215 for collecting CDRs. I would like to thank each of the agencies for here this morning. I wish that more had been able to come this morning. I wish that we could do this, but in the spirit of 9/11 and the countless other senseless terrorist attacks illustrate the need for our nation to always be on guard. The authorities are set to expire in December. We've gotten to it now, thankfully, despite the apparent misuse and abuse of other FISA authorities, are not the ones we should be removing from our counterterrorism tool belt. I look forward to the witness's testimony, and I yield back.